How's it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with my last preview for the 2013 college football season. Well, for a conference, sort of, I guess you could say, the independent teams. I'm going to be previewing each independent teams. And in my other videos, I predicted the standings of each team. Can't do that because there's not really standings in the independents. I'm just going to list the record for each team. And the reason I say this is my last preview is because I'm going to do a video for all the non-BCS conferences, but it's going to be all combined into one video, and it's just going to be the standings. I'm not going to take the time to preview each one of those teams. So there's actually a couple more independents. The past few years there's only been 4 independent teams, and now there's 3 more. There's Old Dominion, which is their first year as a FBS transitional team. They're not actually eligible for a bowl game until 2015. And you got New Mexico State and Idaho, the 2 teams that didn't find a home for a conference after the WAC decimated because they don't play football anymore. So I'm going to preview each one of these teams, and instead of giving you the standings right away, I'll give you the records right away for each team, and I'll tell you a little bit more about each team after I give you the record for each team. So let's start out with Notre Dame. Have them going 10-2. BYU have them going 9-3. Old Dominion going 8-4. Navy 6-6. Army 2-10. New Mexico State 2-10. And Idaho 0-12. So some bottom feeders there in the independents. But let's get started with Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, I'm not real sure if I'd have them going better than 10-2. Maybe a possible chance at a undefeated season and maybe another national championship berth if Everett Golson was coming back. But he's suspended for the season. He'll be back next year, I believe, if I have that straight. So Tommy Rees more than likely is going to be the starter. He's been named the starter, but I'm sure that Malik Zaire, Andrew Hendricks will get some playing time here and there, especially if Tommy Rees struggles. But Notre Dame, they have a good team coming back. They really do. 6 guys coming back on offense, 8 on defense. Losses I have coming against Arizona State and Stanford in the last week of the season. And I'm not real sure why people say Notre Dame had an easy schedule last year, because they didn't. They had a tough schedule, and the people that say they had an easy schedule is people that really don't pay attention to college football, and they think you have a good schedule only if you play Alabama or LSU every single week of the season, which isn't possible when they never are satisfied with schedules. And that's a tough schedule. They don't play in a conference, but I respect Notre Dame for not ever playing FCS opponent teams. They never play I don't even know. I can't even think of. They never play the Appalachian States. They never play the Western Illinois. They never play any of those schools. They always have pretty tough teams in their schedule, week 1 through 12, and they might have a team like Navy to start the season, but that's pretty much their easiest game all season. So they don't have any cakewalks, and Navy by no means is a cakewalk. So we'll actually have Navy later on in the week. They have Temple week 1 this year, and Temple's probably their easiest game, but they're not a cakewalk necessarily either. I mean, that should be an easy win, but that's nobody they can look over and just absolutely pound. So I respect them for always playing BCS conference teams for the most part, and they always have a tough schedule, at least to me. I mean, last year they played Purdue. That's a pretty tough game. Michigan State, Michigan, Miami, Stanford, BYU, Oklahoma, Pitt, which was still a tough game. They almost lost. Boston College, not a cakewalk. Wake Forest, not necessarily a cakewalk. And then you have USC, which was, they're never really a cakewalk. So, just people that say that about Notre Dame playing an easy schedule, no, it's a tough schedule. And this year they got Michigan in the Big House, at Purdue, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Arizona State, which is my loss for them. Like I said, USC, Air Force, that could potentially be a tough game too. Navy, Pitt, BYU, and Stanford. BYU, I was going back and forth between a loss and a win against BYU, but then they're playing at home. Possibly they could be overlooking BYU before they play Stanford, but I think they'll handle BYU. They struggled with them last year, and BYU's a heck of a team, but I got Notre Dame winning that game. And I don't see Notre Dame losing or winning less than 10 games. And I was kind of struggling, but I have Notre Dame winning 10 games. And they, like I said, they have a good team coming back. Tommy Reese, I mean, he played late in games last year when Everett Golson struggled. It led him to a bunch of victories last year. I mean, he was just as big as part of the season as Everett Golson was, leading them to a 12-0 regular season. Um, they did lose Theo Reddick and Sierra Wood to the NFL, and it's kind of unexpected that he left because nobody thought he would leave early for the NFL. But they have the good running back coming back in George Atkinson Jr. Greg Bryant, the freshman, also is supposed to be very good. Some think he's overrated. I don't think he's going to be a good running back. And they did lose their tight end Tyler Eifert, but bring back their top two wide receivers, C.J. Jones and DeVaris Daniels, two really good receivers. Robbie Toma, he was my favorite, my favorite wide receiver for Notre Dame. He's gone. And they also bring back Chris Brown and Troy Nicholas, who's got a little bit of playing time. So, aside from the top two wide receivers, they don't bring back much experience, but they'll be just fine. T.J. Jones, DeVaris Daniels, two really good receivers. DeVaris Daniels is still young. T.J. Jones is a senior coming back, so they'll be fine at wide receiver. They should be fine overall on offense. I don't see their offense really struggling really next year. They should be fine offense defense. They're going to be a solid team, and I think they're here to stay. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if you're going to see Notre Dame win a national championship soon, but they're going to be up in college football at the top for a long time. I'm not sure. Like I said, if that's national championship ready, but I know they're not. They're out of the Charlie Weiss days. That's long behind them. Offensive line, they have two seniors. They got two sophomores starting, and like I said, two seniors on the left side. They get Chris Watt, left guard, and Zach Martin, left tackle. And on the right side, you got Christian Lombard, the junior. And I'm not real too familiar with their tight end who's going to be playing this year, who is replacing Tyler Eifert, and that's a hard tight end to replace. But Tyler Eifert did it just well. The tight end before him, his name is slipping my mind, but he's starting tight end. Kyle Rudolph, that's his name. So he's starting tight end with the Minnesota Vikings, and he is really good in the NFL. So that was tough shoes to fill for Tyler Eifert. So let's see if Troy Nicholas can fill his shoes. And he has the size. He's 6'7", 259. I think he might be a little bit bigger than Tyler Eifert was. So he has the size. So it looks like he has potential. So we just have to see if he can execute. And on the defense, they'll be just fine. They bring back 8 guys on defense from that great defense from last year. I don't care what you say. They had a great defense last year, even though they gave up however many points they did to Alabama. Lewis Nix, bring him back in the middle. Stephon Tuitt's also coming back. Prishimbo is supposed to be. He was a great linebacker last year, but he never got the hype that because of Manti Te'o being on the same defense. He actually had recorded 51 tackles last year. They do lose their top tacklers, Manti Te'o and Zeke Mata, but I think the secondary, Elijah Shoemate, Matthews Fair are going to be two good safeties. So I never really was impressed with Zeke Mata. He was always out of position. He missed a bunch of tackles. He was pretty slow for a safety. So I was never really impressed with him. I mean, I think it'll take a while. I mean, he was a leader on the defense, definitely, but I just don't think he was nearly as talented as some people thought he was. But they should have a solid defense, a solid team, 10-2 team. I would be happy if I was a Notre Dame fan with going 10-2. Because, like I said, I think that's a very tough schedule. I mean, they play some of the great teams from the great conferences. And the reason I have them losing to Arizona State, if you haven't watched my Pac-12 video, is one of my highest rated and highest surprise picks of all of college football. I actually have them winning the Pac-12 South. I don't think they can get past Oregon in the championship game, but I have them winning the Pac-12 South. They have a great team, a great offense. They can throw the ball around. And I believe Notre Dame tends to struggle when they come up against teams that are a little bit faster than them, can throw the ball around. I mean, nobody in their schedule, maybe aside from Oklahoma, throws the ball around. And Landry Jones really struggled in that game last year. But like I said, aside from Oklahoma, I don't see another team that really can throw the ball around like a team like Arizona State can. I think they're going to be surprised. It's a neutral site game in Arlington, and I believe they're going to get beat there. And I wouldn't really necessarily call it an upset because I think Arizona State's going to be undefeated at the time. So it could be two fairly high-ranked teams in that matchup. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. That's early in October. But who knows? Notre Dame can win that game. They can win every game in the schedule, but it's too tough for me to predict 12-0. So I got them going 10-2. And let me give you my. I've been given standout lists for all my teams. I took little notes. The best players in offense and defense for Notre Dame. Tommy Reese, I said he showed last year he could come back late in games. I mean, he played well his sophomore year at times. I mean, he did make some mistakes, but he has the talent. So definitely put Tommy Reese on there. George Atkinson, the running back, I think he's gonna be great. DeVarge Daniels, like I said, a great young wide receiver. Troy Nicholas, I believe, is going to be a good tight end. Zach Martin, Chris Watt, probably the two best linemen on the line, offensive line that is. TJ Jones, great wide receiver. I already mentioned him. Also, I looked a little bit too. The backup tight end for Notre Dame, Ben Koyak, he is supposed to be good as well. So if Troy Nicholas struggles, you got a guy right behind him that can be very good. So maybe that's just the next tight end to emerge and take over whenever Troy Nicholas leaves, because Troy Nicholas is a junior, so 2 more years. I'm not sure what Ben Koyak is. I think I don't know, a junior. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But they're two really good, talented players. Already pointed out Lewis Nix, Stephon Tuitt, Chris Shimbo, Danny Spawn, also a great linebacker. Bennett Jackson, really good corner. Sheldon Day, great D lineman. Jarrett Grace, another great linebacker, really good linebacking core. Kevriar Russell, the corner. Matthias Fairley, already mentioned him. Dan Fox, linebacker, great linebacking core. Jalon Smith, the very young freshman linebacker, I think is going to end up being great at Notre Dame. And I already mentioned Elijah Shoemate, so we'll have to see. It sucks if you're a USC fan because you lost out on Eddie Vanderdoes. He's transferred. I'm not sure if he actually stepped foot on Notre Dame's campus and went to. He's going to UCLA now, so that sucks. But they still have talent, and they're going to be fine on the defense side of football. So. Yep, it's Notre Dame. I took a long time in Notre Dame because after BYU, there's not too much to talk about each team is as in depth as Notre Dame and BYU. So I do have a little bit to say about Old Dominion though, and I'll get to that in just a second. So let's move on to BYU here. Notre Dame fans, hope you enjoyed me talking good about your team there. So BYU, I said I had them going 9-3. Losses coming to Texas, Wisconsin, and Notre Dame. Like I said, that Notre Dame game can go back and forth. And also, I mean, BYU is a team that potentially could run the table. They really could. I mean, they could easily make it to 10 wins. They could win every game on their schedule. Because unlike Notre Dame, their schedule isn't as tough. They have a few more gimme wins, but Texas is a tough game. That's gonna be a fight right there. Last time they played Texas, that was in 2011. They lost by 1 point. I was rooting for BYU so much in that game. But I mean, that game can go back and forth. They're actually playing at home, so who knows what can happen. BYU actually has a really good home field environment, over 60,000 fans a game. So that's going to be a tough one and a fun one to watch. So if I'm Texas, I'd be very scared with that game because BYU, great defense, fundamental offense, one of the best head coaches in all football, Bronco Mendenhall. So watch out, Texas. And then Wisconsin, that's another tough game. It's just hard. I can't go out on a limb really and say BYU can go undefeated, but I can tell you right now, it would surprise me, but it wouldn't come to me as a complete shock. It's not like big a shock as a team like, I would say, Mississippi State going undefeated. No. I mean, I would be surprised, but not necessarily completely shocked. Because they do have some tough games. I'm not sure if they can get through all of them, but we'll just have to see. I mean, heck, they could beat the Texases and the Wisconsin Notre Dames and lose to a team like Georgia Tech. Who knows? They played Georgia Tech last year and absolutely annihilated them. Because I don't think it's going to be a problem because their defense is going to be stout once again this year. But like I said, Wisconsin is going to be a tough environment going into Wisconsin. They do have a bye week before Wisconsin, so that's a plus, of course. But I think Wisconsin is going to be a little bit too much. I think Wisconsin is actually going to be a little bit tougher than Texas for BYU. And then Notre Dame, it's going to be a tough game, and I think both teams are evenly matched. I think I might actually would give the quarterback nod to BYU, because from what I've seen from Taysom Hill, he's gonna be a great quarterback. He's still young. He's gonna be a sophomore. He played behind Riley Nelson and James Lark last year, but I think he's gonna be a great quarterback there at BYU, because he definitely can run the football too. He can pass and run the football. But they bring back the top 3 rushers: Jamal Williams. Taysom Hill was the second leading rusher on the team, and he didn't even get that many snaps, and he ended up running for over 300 yards. And also Michael Elisa. I'm gonna destroy all these BYU names because they're all I don't know what you call them, Hawaiian names. Uh, they're I love BYU. They're awesome. They're awesome. I'd definitely pull for BYU if they got some championship. Man, BYU's an awesome program. But run down to their schedule real quick. Like I said, Virginia, that should be an easy win. I mean, BYU's defense is going to be tough for any team to score on this year. I mean, last year their offense wasn't necessarily so great. I mean, I think their points per game wasn't as bad, as it didn't really show how bad they were on offense, because they had a couple cupcakes like New Mexico State where they scored 50 points. Idaho 52 points, and they go and lose to Boise State and only score 6 points. They did struggle, like I said, on offense sometimes. And their defense, like I said, was stout all year. And aside from the Oregon State game, I thought Oregon State was absolutely legitimate after that game. They scored 42 points on one of the best defenses in the country in BYU. And that was an absolute shocker. And that was actually at home, too. Oregon State just came into BYU and absolutely just spanked them and blew them out. So I don't know what happened that game, honestly. But aside from that, they had a great defense all year, and their offense really didn't show for it. But their offense should be much improved this year. And any offense can have problems scoring their defense. Is going to be great once again. But Utah is I don't believe is going to be that good this year. I think I explained that well in my Pac-12 video, so I think that should be an easy win, especially playing at home. Middle Tennessee State, a tough game, a tough team in now they're in the Conference USA. They're not a bad team, but BYU should have absolutely no problem. But that game is on a Friday night, and I've said this in every single video, anything can happen on a Friday night. But I had them with the win. Utah State playing at Utah State on a Friday night. Utah State's a good young team. They have one of the best unknown quarterbacks in all of football, Chucky Keaton. They did lose Gary Anderson, though, to Wisconsin. But that's going to be a tough game. Don't overlook them, but they should win. They should. I think they played. No, they did not play Utah State last year. Utah State almost beat Wisconsin last year, and they probably ended up making a BCS bowl if they did so. And then Georgia Tech, they shouldn't. They can handle that triple option offense. Obviously, they've played well against the Navies and whatnot, and they absolutely destroyed Georgia Tech this year. They're playing at home. They played at Georgia Tech last year, so it shouldn't be a problem this year. At Houston, I know I mentioned earlier, it's always interesting to watch teams that are like BYU that play teams that don't have such great offenses, and they play more pro style offense teams. And then when you go and you play a team like Houston, they throw the ball around, and it's interesting to see if the defense is fast enough to keep up with those fast receivers. And the same thing, like I said, with Notre Dame when they go and play Arizona State. But I think they shouldn't have a problem with Houston. They are playing in Houston, but that shouldn't be a problem. They should get the W. Boise State. Boise State's always tough playing on a Friday night, but they're playing at home in this game, and Boise I don't think is near as tough this year as they are last year. They lost a ton of people, but I mean, I could be wrong. They always restock and always have great players. But I don't think it's enough to beat Boise State this year. I think they're gonna overcome that that loss last year and win. I think I made a mistake earlier. They lost to Utah last year, but I think they shouldn't have a problem anyways with Utah. Utah lost a lot, and then I said they lost to Wisconsin, Idaho State. That's an easy win. Notre Dame, I already talked about that, and then Nevada. Nevada's tough now. I was just mentioning Houston being a different type of offense on the ball around. Nevada now, they run the ball, but they run different from any other team. I'm not too sure if they're gonna. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not positive that they're gonna keep running the same offense. Another head coach retired, the one who brought the pistol offense. But I'm sure with the personnel they have, and they probably promoted from within, they're gonna run the same style of offense and keep that pistol offense going. Having about 35 1,000-yard rushers on the team during 1 year span. But they have a great quarterback in Cody Fajardo, and he could be the next Colin Kaepernick. He's not as fast, not as big, but he can put up the stats that Colin Kaepernick did definitely. So that's playing at Nevada. That's a tricky game there, but I do think BYU is good enough to pull out a victory there. It could be a close one, but I think they should get the victory. But let's see. Like I said, they bring back 8 guys on offense, 4 on defense. They bring back all of their receivers off last year's team. If you want me to go ahead and name them: Cody Hoffman, Jamal Williams, Ross Opo, Kanukwa Friel, J.D. Falslev, Skylar Ridley, and Devin Mahina. And they are all talented wide receivers. BYU seems to always have at least a couple good wide receivers, and now they have a really good group. And they should be great targets for Taysom Hill to throw to. And like I said, they bring back their top 3 rushers. So offense shouldn't be a problem. We'll have to see if their line can hold up. Have only one senior returning on the line. That's Manaka Vaiti. So I have to see how the couple of juniors are playing at right guard, left guard, and right tackle are going to hold up. Also, the left tackle, a young sophomore, Riker Matthews. So we'll have to see. And how can you go without mentioning one of the best defensive players in all of the country on the defense, Kyle Van Noy. And that guy's absolutely insane. And this picture of Ezekiel Ansah came back for this year. I mean, I know he left for the draft. I'm thinking he might have been a senior last year, but if he was a junior and he would have stayed and playing this offense, I might have BYU going 11-1, maybe even 12-0, because that guy is awesome. And this picture of having those 2 guys on the team once again with the rest of the defense, that'd been absolutely insane. But I mean, as I look at this defense, there's studs. There's all up and down the list. I mean, Daniel Sorensen, one of the best safeties in probably all the country, not just all the independent teams, but to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and give you my standout players on both sides of football for Navy. Navy. Wow, for BYU. Already mentioned Cody Hoffman, the good wide receiver. I'm not even mentioning the wide receivers. I already told you. Then Riker Matthews. He's a young guy, but he's still a really good left tackle, and that's why he's starting at left tackle for a team like BYU this early in his career. Kaniki Friel, Kanikua Friel, the tight end, very good tight end, one of the best out of the independent teams. So there's a big target for Taysom Hill to throw to, and the rest are pretty much just the wide receivers. So I'm not going to mention them all again. Then on the defense side of the football, there's so many. Just about all of them are complete standouts. But I know I already mentioned Kyle Van Noy because he's that good. But I'll go ahead and mention the rest. Bronson Kalfusi, the defensive lineman, absolute stud. Kyle Van Noy, Jordan Johnson, the cornerback, and I already talked about Daniel Sorensen. And they're wait 1 second. Okay, sorry, I was distracted there. I think you pronounce this Ethan. I guess that's Ethan. Ethan Manamulunu. Maluna, the other defensive lineman, he is good too. And I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce these names very good. But also Spencer Halley, the linebacker, he's a stud as well. And just about every single player on that defense is going to be great for BYU. So I took up 24 minutes talking about 2 teams, and I'm going to talk about Old Dominion for a while, and then the last 4 teams wrap up quite quick. So I have BYU going 9-3, potential to be better than that, definitely. So let's start talking a little bit about Old Dominion. This is their first year as an FBS team. Well, I guess you could call them an FBS transitional team because they're not eligible for a bowl game. They're not in a conference. They're going to be joining the CUSA, but they're not eligible to play in the CUSA this year. But they want to go ahead and make the jump. and they're just going to be listed as an independent, and they can, if I understand this correctly, they can win the CUSA next year, but they can't get to a bowl game, and that sucks. And the reason that sucks, they can't go to a bowl game until 2015, is because in that year, their amazing quarterback, Taylor Heineke, he's going to be gone. He won't be back. He'll be a senior next year. And this kid can absolutely play. And Old Dominion, if they were a team this year, a bowl eligible team, they could be a sleeper to make a BCS bowl. That's how good they are. They don't let anything fool you about a team just coming up. They're good. They have studs all across the field, and I looked more into Old Dominion. It surprised me. I've never seen a team come up to FBS and already have so many great players. But I think it, like I said, it starts and finishes with their quarterback Tyler Heineke. He throws amazing. He runs like a deer. He has the targets to throw to, and his running backs are back who played exceptionally well last year. He ran for a ton of yards by himself. I'm surprised he didn't throw to himself. He's do it all quarterback, and he's out of the independent teams, he's probably the best. Definitely, if he was in the CUSA this year, he'd be the best quarterback in the CUSA, and you probably could even pick some BCS conferences that he'd be the best quarterback in. That's how good he is. They actually made the FCS playoffs last year and got stopped short by Georgia Southern, who is actually going to be joining the Sun Belt next year, if I'm not mistaken. So all these FCS teams moving on up, and I don't blame them. I mean, they want a shot at the big prize like everybody else. But let's talk about the schedule fast. Having them 8-4, and don't let that record surprise you. I mean, I know they're an FBS transitional team. I know that's a lot of wins for a first-year team, but they do play a lot of FCS teams, with it being not eligible for CUSA right now or a bowl game. But I think they still will be competitive, very competitive in the games they play against BCS teams. I mean, if they played like in the old WAC, if they played in the WAC of last year or the year before that, they could go 10-2 or 11-1, maybe even undefeated. They didn't play any tough out of conference games. That's how good they are. So don't let the wins fool you, and don't let losses fool you, if that makes sense. They're just good. But the they have been losing to East Carolina just because East Carolina's a high-powered offense. This is going to be their first game. Nerves are going to be rocking playing at East Carolina, which is like an SEC environment. I don't think anybody understands how great of an environment East Carolina has, especially being a non-BCS team. Probably the best environment of a non-BCS team. At Maryland, have them losing, but they very easily could win this game. Very, very easily. And they play Howard, easy win. The Citadel, easy win. Albany, easy win. Liberty, easy win. At Pittsburgh, I even mentioned this in my ACC video. Pittsburgh needs to watch out, because it would not surprise me if Old Dominion goes into Pittsburgh and wins that game. I mean, they're really, really good. Then out Norfolk State. Wow. At Norfolk State, that should be an easy win. Rhode Island, that should be a win. At Idaho, now this is where I have them winning their first ever game against an FBS opponent, coming against Idaho, and Idaho's not a good team. I'm going to be talking about them in just a minute. I don't know why I'm going to be talking about Idaho, but I am, because they're independent. But they should get the win, I think, very easily over Idaho this year. And at Charlotte, or against Charlotte at home, that should be a win. And then at North Carolina, and North Carolina is very tough, and I don't think they can hang with a team just like North Carolina just yet. But if they were playing easier out-of-conference teams, I could see them winning more games. But they're playing BCS conference teams, and I'm not sure if they really can. They're good. I'm not sure if they're good enough to hang with them yet. But like I said, if they could possibly win. They very easily possibly could win every game on their schedule aside from North Carolina. I think North Carolina's going to be a blowout, but I mean, I could see them beating Maryland, or at least hanging really close against Maryland and Pittsburgh, and East Carolina wouldn't surprise me one bit if they won. But like I said, they have talent all over the field. 9 guys coming back on offense, 6 on defense, and like I said, most importantly, Taylor Heineke, their quarterback. Let me tell you his stats. His stats are absolutely insane. Last year, he threw 69% completions, He had a 69 completion rate, 5,076 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. That's phenomenal. And he also had about 671 yards on the ground and 11 touchdowns. That's also phenomenal for a quarterback. And they were 11-2 last year. 9 guys coming back on offense, 6 on defense. The leading rusher, Tyree Lee, who had 892 yards and 8 touchdowns, is coming back. Aside from their top wide receiver, who was Nick Myers, the next 5 on the depth chart come back, which is Antonio Vaughn, Larry Pinker, Blair Roberts, Tyree Lee, the running back who caught some out of the backfield, Markwell Thomas, and Jackwell Bailey. And each one of these receivers had over 300 yards receiving. Antonio Vaughn led all of them with 885, and Larry Pinker over 800. And Nick Mayers, who I just mentioned, who isn't coming back, had over 1,200 yards receiving. So that's quite a feat there. And don't let this Old Dominion team surprise you or give you the wrong impression to think they're like one of those Colt Brennan Hawaii teams with no defense. They have some talented players on the defense. I mean, I'm not sure how good they're going to be in FBS, but I know they have more talent on this defense than the team like Hawaii did. I can go ahead and tell you the standout players in their defense. Let me count how many seniors they have. 1, 2, 3, 4 seniors on their offense out of 6 returning. And standouts, let me get to my page real fast. On the defense, Dominique Gwynn Bailey, a great defensive lineman. Caleb Taylor, a really good linebacker, sitting at 6'3", 240, so a big guy on that defense. Reggie Owens, Antonio Vaughn, who's a great punt returner. He's actually the wide receiver, and I don't know why I had him listed with the defense there. But 3 guys who I think could start on any FBS team right there on the Old Dominion's defense. So they have talented players. Trust me. Don't let the offense fool you. And I think let me mention a couple of other players in offense. I already raved about the quarterback. They have a really good offensive guard in David Bourne. He's an NFL talent, definitely. Larry Pinker, I already mentioned him. Antonio Vaughn, really good wide receiver. Also, Jack Lowry, the offensive tackle. He also is a very talented player who possibly could make it to the NFL one day. But Old Dominion, man, very talented team. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if they got to 10 wins, because they're just that talented. I know it's insane to say that about a team just coming into FBS, but with the schedule that they got against the FCS teams, they all should be wins. And I know it's kind of a complicated theory, because I mean, don't let the easy wins fool you, and don't let the losses fool you, because they could very easily win those games. I mean, very easily. So that's about it for Old Dominion. Now let's move on to Navy. I'm gonna try to speed it up now. Try to not talk as much about that. I had a lot to say about those first 3 teams. Navy have them going 6-6, losses to Indiana, Duke, Toledo, Pitt, Notre Dame, San Jose State, and actually have them winning the trophy. Frick, I forget what the trophy's called. I was about to call it the Confederate Trophy. Wow. I have a blank. I'm sorry. But they'll beat Air Force and Army. I think so. But 6-6, I'd give them going to a bowl game, so that's a successful year for Navy. I mean, a little drop off after last year's 8-5 record, but I think they'll still make it to a bowl game, which should be a successful year in the eyes of Navy fans. They do bring back starting quarterback Keenan Reynolds, who's actually really talented and runs that triple offense very well. They do lose their top rusher and G.G. Green, who ran wild last year, ran for over 900 yards. They do after that bring back the top 3 rushers, which for one is starting quarterback Keenan Reynolds, Noah Copeland, and Trey Miller, and Dare Staten comes back too. And I'm not sure if this really means much in the Navy offense, but they did lose their top 2 receivers, and they bring back Sean Lynch, Casey Bellina, and Noah Copeland also, who caught some out of the backfield. I'm interested to see how much the leading receiver for Navy had, how many yards he had. Brandon Turner, 321 yards. That's odd, but now Keenan Reynolds, he doesn't have such a strong arm, but he's smart when he throws the football. He only had 2 interceptions last year. Not I saw him play in a couple games, more specifically the Army game, and he was very protected with the football. He doesn't make turnovers. He runs very well, so he's a really good quarterback. Um, probably the best quarterback I'd have to say out of out of the frick out of the academy schools. I keep forgetting words for things, man. It's late. It's 1:42. It's 1:42 in the morning. Wow, gosh. Sorry. um, but anyways, bring back 6 guys on offense, 7 on defense. The offensive line is going to be young, so that might be a question mark there. On defense, they bring back a couple of talented players. I mean, Navy always has a few talented players in that defense. I can name them to you. Cody Peterson, the linebacker, Evan Palile, the defensive lineman, Paris Gaines, the corner. Also, a really good kicker, Nick Sloan. So talented players in that defense. Shouldn't be a great defense, but they shouldn't be really bad. So Navy 6-6 got them going to a bowl game. Moving on to Army. Now the teams kind of drop off a bit. Got Army going 2-10. Losses to Ball State, Stanford, Wake Forest, Louisiana Tech, Boston College, Temple, Air Force, Western Kentucky, Hawaii, and Navy. And that's not really a drop off from last year because they went 2-10 last year as well. Wins coming against Morgan State and Eastern Michigan, and they could very easily lose that Eastern Michigan game. Even though Eastern Michigan is one of the worst teams in FBS, they actually got beat by Eastern Michigan last year, which really surprised me when I was looking over all this stuff. But if Army returned Trent Steelman at quarterback, I'd give them maybe 5-6 wins, maybe, because Trent Steelman is the difference in between wins against Ball State, Temple, Air Force, Western Kentucky, and Hawaii. That's the couple wins that I give Trent Steelman is back. But they have AJ Sure coming back as he's going to start quarterback this year. Didn't play much last year, but they do bring back Raymond Maples, who's a very talented running back, probably the best running back out of all the academies coming back. Larry Dixon coming back as well. Hayden Trippett, Trenton Turrentine, Terry Baggert, AJ Sure ran a couple times last year. But so he does have a little bit of experience, but I don't know. I just don't see Army being good this year. But they do rank 7 on offense, 8 on defense. But most importantly, they lost Trent Steelman. They bring back the 3 leading tacklers: Jeffrey Bacon, Brendan Fuller Jeffries, and Alex Meyer. And the best defensive player coming back is Robert Coe. Very good defensive tackle. I mean, undersized. I mean, playing in Army. The guys in the D-line are going to be undersized, but he knows how to get to the quarterback. Very talented. So, I mean, they tend to get one of their wins against an unlikely opponent. Last year's Boston College. Don't see that being the case this year. But they could win a game maybe against Wake Forest. No, not Wake Forest. I take that back. Maybe against Louisiana Tech. Maybe Temple. They could maybe upset a team like Western Kentucky or Hawaii. But I just don't see that being the case. I don't think their offense. To be a good team running this type of offense, you got to have an effective quarterback, and I'm just not sure how good this guy's going to be. I mean, I can't really judge him because I've never seen him play, so we'll just have to see. But from my perspective, I just don't see them having a good year. So got them going 2-10. But as always, I'm going to give my standout players to each team in the independents while I'm at it. Army, already mentioned Raymond Maples, one of the best running backs, probably, like I said, the best running back out of the academies. Steven Schumacher, a good guard for Army. Larry Dixon's also a really good running back. He might be the second best running back out of the academy teams. Ryan Pallas, another good guard. Moving to defense, already mentioned Robert Coe. Jeffrey Bacon, great safety. Alex Meyer, the linebacker, good linebacker. Probably he might be one of the best linebackers out of the academy teams too, but that's about it for Army. So 2-10 Army. Don't have them improving. Don't have them not improving. They're saying at 2-10, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Moving on to New Mexico State. Got them going 2-10, so that is an improvement from last year. They went 1-11 last year. They're bringing first-year head coach Doug Martin, so we can see how he will do this year. He actually served as a head coach at Kent State from 2004 to 2010. And New Mexico State bring back 7 guys on offense, 7 on defense. Schedule and the losses I have coming against Texas, Minnesota, UTEP, UCLA, San Diego State at their arch rival New Mexico. Rice, Louisiana, Boston College, Louisiana Lafayette, Boston College, Florida Atlantic, and have them beaten Idaho, and the other one coming against Albany Christian. So yeah, Mexico State, they lose their starting quarterback Andrew Manley. They bring back their top running back Demi Morrison, who's gonna be a senior this year. Actually had a decent year last year. Had ran over 800 yards. Bring back their top receiver in Austin Franklin, who's actually very, very good. Surprised me to see how good this guy actually was, but last year he had over 1,200 yards receiving when their quarterback threw 2,700. So they like to throw the ball around at New Mexico State in an offense. We'll have to see how the offense has changed under new head coach Doug Martin, but with the personnel they have, I think they'll still throw the ball around quite a bit. Like I said, Austin Franklin, a really good wide receiver actually. And let's see alongside the offensive line, Devontae Wallace, really good left tackle senior. He's actually an NFL prospect. I would think he would get drafted. Jimmy Morrison, pretty good running back. I already mentioned him. On the defense side of the football, yeah, Treshawn Nixon, very good linebacker, NFL prospect as well. Willie Mobley, he's potential NFL prospect on the defensive line. Brian Bonilla, another linebacker who could potentially make it to the NFL. Davis Cazares, the safety, very good. Matt Raimondo, George Callender, Matt Raimondo, the defensive lineman, George Callender, the safety. So New Mexico State actually has some talent returning on this defense, but their offense is just turnover prone, and their defense, like I said, they do have talent, but as they shown last year, that talent didn't necessarily mean success. They just don't really play well as a unit, and I just don't see that changing. But they're going to be talented. They will improve from that 1-11 record, and I think they'll be a little bit more competitive. But they do have some tough games being a team like New Mexico State, UCLA, San Diego State, Texas. I think New Mexico will catch them this year again, but I think it'll be really close. And Boston College, a tough game. Louisiana Lafayette, pretty tough. Rice could be a win. Rice really could be a win. So could New Mexico State. I mean, against the rival New Mexico. I don't think they can beat UTEP. Florida Atlantic very easily could be a win. I was going back and forth between Florida Atlantic, but I thought Florida Atlantic brought a little bit more back, and Florida Atlantic playing at Florida Atlantic, and then Idaho got them with a W there. So New Mexico State, they have talent. We'll just have to see if their talent can mean more success, and I think it's the case, but not as much success as some New Mexico State fans probably would hope to be the case. But they have a ton of seniors in this defense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seniors. So when you got seniors like that and talent, who knows? Who knows? Maybe New Mexico State can shock the world and go undefeated and go to the national championship. We'll just have to see, guys. But who knows? It could be a shocker, but we'll just have to see. Okay, moving on, guys, to Idaho. And Idaho, I have going 0-12 because they were very bad last year. Bring back 7 on offense, 3 on defense, and they were an atrocious defense last year. Absolutely terrible. Gave up 70 points to Louisiana Tech, 63 to LSU, 66 to North Carolina, 52 to BYU, 42 to San Jose State, 45 to Utah State, Texas San Antonio 34. Terrible. And the fact that they only bring back 3 defensive starters off that team, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And more than likely it's going to be a bad thing, because I'm not sure that Idaho has really the depth that you'd want to turn a defense around from that bad to just improving by any means. But losses, they go on 0-12, so every team on their schedule's got a loss against. But I will go ahead and say that schedule. North Texas, Wyoming, Northern Illinois, Washington State, Temple, Fresno State, Arkansas State, Ole Miss, Texas State, Old Dominion, Florida State, and New Mexico State. Only games I can see them maybe competing in is Old Dominion, maybe, just because it's Old Dominion's first year, and I'm not sure the depth that they have is ready for FBS play. But I mean, they're still think they're gonna be a good team. I just have to be completely sold on them when the season starts. North Texas, maybe. That's a big maybe. And New Mexico State, but I think New Mexico State should handle them easily. New Mexico State, even though the record doesn't show it, I think it's heads and shoulders above Idaho. But we'll have to see how they do because they have Paul Petrino as the head coach now, the brother of Bobby Petrino. I'm not sure if his offense is similar, but if it is by any means, they're going to sling the ball around. They do lose their starting quarterback, Dominique Blackman, who wasn't that great last year, but Taylor Davis returns, who's the third string starter, but they project Chad Kalich to be the starter redshirt freshman, so I have to see how he does. They lose their starting running back, Ryan Bass. They do bring back their second stringer, James Baker, but that's about it. They lose their top players in defense. Their top receiver, Mike Scott's gone. They bring back Najee Lovett, Jaree Level, and Roman Runner, to a couple good wide receivers who should be good targets for the redshirt freshmen, but there's no talent, no good talent on this Idaho team, and I hope they get better than that, but we'll just have to see. But I'm gonna give the standout players some love here, but after that, I'm gonna be done with this. Let me find my list here. On offense, have no players on Idaho's offense. No, take that back. Mike Marbo, the center, is actually supposed to be an NFL prospect center, so watch out for Mike Marbo, sorry, not Barbo. But on offense, that is about it, actually. And on defense, maybe a couple guys I'd like to say something about. Solomon Dixon, really good cornerback, and Max Ford, the defensive lineman, supposed to be very good as well. So, guys, that is it. That's been my independent prediction video of all the independent teams. So, hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you disagree with my predictions, let me know in the comment section below why. And if you just leave me your predictions in the comment section below. And this has been my last prediction video. Actually, in-depth analysis prediction video. Tomorrow, like I said, is going to be what is the word? The standings for the non-BCS teams. That's about it. So, hope you enjoyed all my predictions for all the conferences. And I hope you're going to be looking forward to my NCAA Football 14 content, which is coming up this Friday. And that's why I'm getting all these videos out really quick. So, talk to you guys later. Have a great night.